Have you ever stopped to think how totally different things like old wars, places on a map, even just words might actually be, deeply connected?
It's a great question. And yeah, when you start digging, you often find these surprising links, these hidden layers of meaning.
Exactly. So today, on the deep dive, we're going to explore one of those really intricate connections. We'll get into the story of the Karen people, then look at a key moment in Thai history with King Taksin the Great.
And then we'll pivot to something fascinating from linguistics called polysemy.
Right. And our goal here, our sort of mission for this deep dive, is to pull out the key insights from all the source material you sent over.
Yeah, we want to show how things like stories people tell, their sense of identity, struggles against oppression, how they all weave together, and even how language itself isn't fixed, how words can hold multiple meanings.
And we've got a real mix of sources to help us do that. History books, cultural group profiles, some linguistic stuff, even recent disaster reports. It's quite a stack.
It should help us piece together this pretty complex picture.
Okay, so let's start this deep dive properly. Let's unpack the Karen people first. Who exactly are they? What's their story?
Well, the Karen are what we call an ethno-linguistic group.
Hmm.
Basically, they share languages and cultural roots. They're indigenous to southern and southeastern Myanmar, think the Irrawaddy Delta, Kind State, areas like that.
Okay.
And Myanmar, it's incredibly diverse, over 135 different ethnic groups. The Karen make up roughly 6 or 7% of the population,
Yeah.
making them the third largest group there.
Right, but here's where it gets really interesting based on your sources.
Right.
They're not just one single group, are they?
Not at all. That's a key point. There are actually around 20 subgroups. The biggest ones are the Saga and the Pu.
Uh-huh.
And then you have other related groups like the Pa'o, the Karenni, the Kaem. They speak similar languages, but have really formed their own distinct identities over time.
So this idea of a single, unified pan-Karen identity, that's not ancient history.
No, it's relatively recent.
Yeah.
It really took shape in the 19th century. British colonial rule played a big part, Christian missionaries too, and then the whole process of decolonization.
Wow. And even the name Karen.
Yeah, that's apparently an English version of the Burmese word Kan, and where that word comes from. Well, it's unclear. Some sources suggest it might have even started as a derogatory term.
So layers upon layers right from the start.
Exactly. And this lack of homogeneity, this internal diversity, it kind of feeds into their long history of oppression within Burma. Tensions really spiked after World War II.
Which led to them fleeing.
Yes. Many Karen fled, mainly to Thailand, or got resettled in other countries as refugees. And you've had Karen insurgent groups, the main one being the Karen National Union, the KNU.
Right, the KNU.
They've basically been at war with the Burmese government since way back in early 1949.
For an independent homeland initially.
That was the original goal, yeah.
Yeah.
A place called Katuli. But since the mid-70s, they've shifted their aim. Now they're pushing more for a federal system within Myanmar.
And the KNU isn't just a fighting force, is it?
No, not at all. They function almost like a government in the areas they control. They provide social services, building schools, for example, both in Thailand and inside Burma, medical services too, and they regulate trade.
That struggle, though, has caused huge displacement. You mentioned the numbers are staggering.
They really are. Hundreds of thousands forced into refugee camps, mostly along the Thai-Burma border, and many others are displaced inside Kan State itself.
You gave the example of Mai Li camp in Tak province.
Yeah, Mali. It holds around 50,000 Karen refugees. That's almost 80% of the entire camp population.
And life there must be incredibly tough.
Oh, definitely. Sources describe it as really restricted. Overcrowding, disease risk, jobs are scarce and often dangerous.
Yet, despite all that, they have schools, even college courses.
It's quite remarkable. There's a pretty solid school system up to high school level run by the Karen Refugee Committee's education group. And yes, even some college courses. The resilience is, well, it's really something.
And this has led to a diaspora, right? People moving further afield.
Absolutely. A significant Karen diaspora.
Yeah.
Particularly in North America. You've got like 20,000 estimated in Minnesota, mostly St. Paul, another 5,000 plus in Nebraska.
And these communities are thriving in a way, building new lives.
They are. And what's amazing is how they maintain their identity and also contribute. Your sources mention people like Lurish Tu, the first Karen police officer in the U.S.,
Wow.
and young people, too, like Mu'ai, who wants to become a nurse, specifically to help people back in the refugee camps. Or A. DeGray, who wants to take his education back to teach kids in the camps.
That sense of connection back is powerful.
It really shows that strength of community, even when scattered.
Okay, so we have this picture of the Karen people, diverse, resilient, facing immense challenges, displaced, but holding on to identity. Now, how does King Taksin the Great fit in? He's a Thai hero figure. What's the link?
The link, and it's a powerful one, is the shared adversary, the Burmese. The stories about King Taksin are huge in Thailand, both nationally and very locally, like in Rayong province.
Rayong. What's the story there?
Well, the local belief in Rayong is that King Taksin actually camped there at a temple called Wat Lum Mahachai Chunfon. He supposedly tied up his war elephant.
His elephant, Pankiri Bonethorn, was it?
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it's there, among local leaders, that he declared his intention to fight the Burmese and win back independence for Ayutthaya.
So Rayong became a rallying point.
Exactly. The people of Rayong united behind him. That support was crucial for his later campaigns, like attacking Chanthaburi and building up forces to retake Ayutthaya.
And these stories about Taksin in Rayong, they serve multiple purposes for the community today, right? Your source listed like 6 different roles.
Yeah, it's fascinating how history functions. The source says these narratives act as a kind of mental anchor for people there. They build community identity, provincial pride.
Fostering tradition, patriotism.
Right, even developing historical consciousness, ethnic consciousness. And on a practical level, they help develop tourist sites and learning centers.
So, just like the Karen narratives of struggle shape their identity, the Taksin narrative shapes the identity in Rayong. And both are defined in part against that same historical opponent.
Precisely. It's a really striking parallel in how collective memory is formed and used.
Now let's talk about another connection, a geographical one this time. We mentioned the Mela refugee camp is in Tak Province, Thailand.
Tak Province.
And your sources also brought up something very current happening in that same area, flooding.
Yes, that's right. There was a UNOCIT report, quite recent, September 2024. It documented major flooding in several Thai provinces, and Tak was one of them.
How bad was it?
Pretty significant. Satellite data showed overall something like 925 square kilometers flooded across the affected provinces. Specifically in Tak, it was over 38,000 ray, which is, well, a substantial area. Districts like Samnagao and Bantok were hit.
So these already vulnerable communities, many having fled conflict,
are now facing environmental disasters in their place of refuge. It just highlights the ongoing precariousness, doesn't it? The challenges aren't just political or historical, they're environmental too, right now.
It adds another layer to their struggle for stability.
Okay, this feels like a good moment to bring in that linguistic concept you mentioned, polysemy. It might help us tie some of these threads together.
Yeah, I think it might offer a useful lens.
So what exactly is polysemy? Break it down for us.
Okay, so polysemy. It's basically when a single word or phrase can have multiple meanings, but crucially, those meanings are related in some way.
Related. How is that different from, say, homonym?
Good question. Homonyms are words that sound alike or are spelled alike but have totally unrelated meanings, like bat the animal and bat the piece of sporting equipment.
Okay, got it. So polysemy is related meanings like...
Like the verb to get. You can get groceries, meaning procure them. You can get angry, meaning become angry. Or you can get a joke, meaning understand it. See how those meanings procure, become, understand, they feel connected somehow. Yeah, there's a sort of underlying idea of acquisition or change, maybe.
Exactly. And that's why dictionary writers usually list all those meanings under the one entry for get. They're polysemes.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, your source had a really great example. The word bank. That kind of blew my mind a little.
Ah, yes, the bank example. It's a classic.
Yeah.
So today we think of bank, the money place, and bank, the edge of a river, as totally separate, right? Homonyms.
Yeah, completely unrelated.
But historically they weren't. They were actually polysemous. Both meanings trace back to an old Proto-Germanic word, bankes, which meant something like a slope or a shelf.
Seriously, how does that work?
Well, a riverbank often has a slope, right? Or it looks kind of like a flat shelf beside the water. And a financial bank. One theory is it originally referred to the bench or shelf where money changers sat and did their business.
Wow. Okay, so what seemed like 2 totally different words now actually grew from the same root meaning.
Exactly. The meanings drifted apart over time. That's called semantic shift, but the connection was originally there.
So how does this idea of polysemy, of words having multiple related, evolving meanings, how does that help us understand the other things we've talked about, like the Karen or King Taksin?
Well, think about identity. We heard the Karen identity isn't monolithic, right? It comprises many subgroups, and the whole idea of a pan-Karen identity is a relatively modern layer, shaped by specific historical forces.
So the identity itself is kind of polysemous, holding multiple related meanings or affiliations that evolved over time.
You could certainly see it that way.
Yeah.
It's not one simple meaning. It's a complex layering of related affiliations and experiences under one umbrella term, an umbrella term whose own origins are complex.
And the king taxon narrative.
Same idea, perhaps. We saw how that single historical narrative holds multiple functions, multiple layers of meaning. For the people of Rayong, it's about history, identity, community, patriotism, even tourism. It's not just one thing.
So just like the word bank accrued different but related meanings, these concepts, identity, historical narratives, they also gather layers of meaning and function over time, shaped by experience and context.
That's a great way to put it. It helps us appreciate the complexity and the evolution of these concepts, rather than seeing them as fixed or simple.
So wrapping this all up, it's quite a journey we've taken, from the Karen people's long struggle and incredible resilience.
To King Taxon fighting that same historical adversary, becoming a symbol for Thai identity.
To the present-day reality of environmental challenges, like flooding in places like Tak Province, where refugees have sought safety.
And finally, using this idea of polysemy to understand how words, identities, histories, how they all can hold these multiple, shifting, interconnected layers of meaning.
It really shows how these seemingly separate strands are deeply interwoven. History, geography, language, identity, they constantly shape each other.
Yeah, nothing exists in a vacuum. It's all dynamic, all connected, often in ways that aren't immediately obvious until you start to, well, unpack them.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about polysemy and these layered connections, what other terms, maybe historical figures, or even just concepts in your own life or community might have hidden layers? What surprising connections might emerge if you started to unpack their multiple meanings?
What else is waiting to be unpacked? A good question to ponder.